23 years ago in San Francisco, California, two people met, a French woman and a Brazilian man. That year, they fell in love. After that, they married and came to live in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, and had 3 kids. So, first, my older brother, which is now 20, I came right after. I'm 17. And many years later, my little brother, which is 4. So, pretty big difference, right? But let's get to the point. France and Brazil are both Latin cultures, although one's from South America and the other is from Europe. So obviously there are many little differences. Let's start with basic day-to-day differences. For example, a meal. If I go to my Brazilian grandparents' house to eat, a sort of buffet will be served. There will be pasta and also rice with beans and sauce, chicken, vegetables, salads, and many possible choices. And I don't even need to talk about the dessert. I personally serve myself with literally everything, because even if I think there's no more space for food in my stomach, there is. But that happens because Brazilian people say the more the merrier. So the more the quantity there is, it's better to have more than enough instead of the opposite. However, if I go to my French grandparents' house to eat, there will be no buffet. Actually, there will be only one choice. And the quantity is not like in Brazil. You cannot serve yourself filling your entire plate. And actually, you have to serve yourself with a little bit. And when you finish, if you're still hungry, you can repeat. But that happens because French people enjoy when all the food that was made was eaten, which means the quantity was perfect. But in my view, this difference happens because France lived pretty big wars. And the one that shocked the most was World War II. Many families were taken, and my great-grandfather was one of them. He was of the resistance and was sent to a working camp, coming back with only 25 kilograms. So obviously, that shocked all those families and also mine. And eating became something even more consecrated for them, since the dispense of food was not well seen. Another interesting difference of those two cultures is how in France there are many traditional families. However, in Brazil, fewer because of the cultural blending present in here. So, for example, in Brazil, we can see many people with tattoos. However, in France, not so many. My brother, which is now living in France, has 4 tattoos. And he told me that French people keep asking him if they're fake because they're not used to seeing so many people with tattoos. But in Brazil, actually not asking this question is common because we can see everywhere people with 1 or many more tattoos. And what tattoo people always tell me is that when you do 1, it's like you get addicted to it and want to do many others. But also, what French people always tell me is how Brazilian people are so friendly to everyone. So when they're going to say hi, they hug, even if they don't know the person very well. And also, Brazilian people always joke that they talk to everyone like they knew them for years, even if they just met the person. However, in France, people are much more serious when it comes to people they just met, and even people they already know. So I never know how to say hi, if I should shake their hand or give them 2 kisses. And what I always forget about is the strict no hug rule, even applied for France. But why does all that happen? According to Clotaire Rapaille, each culture has its own set of glasses. And we can only see what our culture has given to us through those glasses. In his book, the Cultural Code. So, for example, if I take my parents, I ask them to imagine a mountain my father actually would say that he imagines a rock, as there are not mountains in Brazil, only rocks. And precisely the Gavia rock, which is the one he has seen his entire life and the one in the picture. There are many trees and we can see the ocean heating on the bottom. However, my mother will answer that she imagines a mountain with snow and people skiing, and it's cold, as she was used to seeing that when she was younger. So the glasses will enable us to see what our culture has given to us, has taught us. So that's why, even if my mother has been living in Brazil for almost the same quantity of time that she has lived in France, the culture that most affected her was France, because it's the place where she grew up and the only place where she can buy her own set of glasses. An interesting thing about those glasses is that the mother transmits much to her children's glasses when they are younger. My brothers and I are the living proof of that. My mother has been living in Brazil for 22 years now. And we can say, when my older brother was younger, that my mother was much more of a French than she is now. So my father told me that once he was with my older brother in a restaurant, and he asked him if he wanted a sandwich with ham and cheese. And my older brother asked him which type of ham and cheese would be on the sandwich. This could only be because in France, the choice of ham and cheese are much more vast and accessible than in Brazil, as we can see in the picture. So maybe I would ask which type of bread would be on the sandwich, as my mother was living in Brazil for a little longer. And my little brother wouldn't ask anything. He would actually think of the normal bread that Brazilian people eat, that it's the funniest thing, how it is called, the French bread. So authentic, right? Besides that, he would think of the normal ham and cheese that Brazilian people are used to eating every day, because my mother was living in Brazil for much longer. But even with all those differences, what actually matters is that we're all humans. And that's why there are so many multicultural families all around the world. And what I have learned is to respect them and to be open to meet new countries and cultures, which is so important to respect them, because instead of trying to fix them, we should be trying to understand their way to live so that they can understand ours. So my family is the living proof that when mixing two cultures, the result can be amazing. So respect them, because maybe someday you'll meet someone from another culture and fall in love, as my parents say. Thank you.